Welcome everyone to Monday night reading. It's a special night because we have Mike Michalowicz in the house tonight for the Money Habit, my writing partner of 17 years, Mike.
And we've never had a fight. That we'll acknowledge.
Well, no, we had a whole episode about a fight once on our
It's true.
podcast.
It's true.
So if you're new to Monday night reading, which I think some of you are because you're coming here to hear about the Money Habit, Monday night reading is something that I came up with because I got a little frustrated with how few opportunities nonfiction authors, especially prescriptive nonfiction authors, get to do readings, which is pretty commonplace in the world of fiction, creative nonfiction. So I said, let's change that. And so we do Monday night readings pretty regularly. They're always free and open to the public. How this rolls is Mike and I will have a little conversation. He's going to do some reading, then we'll have a little convo. One thing I want to share with you is that we like to give positive comments in the chat. Okay? Now, Mike doesn't need you to do that necessarily. He loves you to diss him and on a regular basis, but I still want you to put positive comments in the chat. We like to see what resonates with you. We give that chat to the author to show what are people responding to. Of course, we refrain from constructive criticism. We're just here to have fun and have a fantastic night. Also, I want to point out we do something really special for authors in the last 10 minutes of the program. So I want you to stick around for that. Do not leave. It won't cost you anything. It's only going to take you a couple of minutes, and it's a huge, huge help to the authors who are up for Monday night reading. Before we dig in, though, I have to turn things over to Laura, who always does the bio in Laura style. Laura.
Thank you, AJ. I'm going to just say that I'm going to change things up tonight. I'm not going to read a typical bio because this is not a typical guest. Instead, I'm going to deliver cold, hard Mike facts. So, number one, fact Mike Michalowicz loves a Taylor ham. He loves a Taylor ham so much that he has stated no less than 8 times in a single episode of his podcast, Don't Write That Book. Fact number 2, Mike was the first person to send me a housewarming gift when I bought my first home. A Laura's Garden sign, and Mike, I want you to know it's still in the garden. Fact number 3, salient. He's a co-crier. Whatever you do, do not come to this man and tell him that his core belief that he exists on this earth to end entrepreneurial poverty has changed your life. Don't start tearing up, because he will too, okay? Fact number 4, Mike loves a hobby. See gardening, fruit farming, cold plunges, playing the guitar. Fact number 5, and I hate to do this to you, Mike, but he has misrepresented the truth. I'm not going to call it a lie, okay? He has misrepresented the truth exactly 1 time in his life. And that was when he lured an unsuspecting ghostwriter to his downtown Booton office filled with thrifted furniture under the guise of ghostwriting his blog, when he actually meant for it to be his book. But then they decided to work together. And since then, Mike and his co-writer, hang on, I've got it down, Anjunite Harper, I think it's French. They have since written and published 10 books together. And tonight we're going to listen as he reads from his latest, The Money Habit. And I'll share ways to stay connected in the chat. AJ and Mike.
Oh, you lucky duck. You get a Laura intro.
That was beautiful. That was awesome.
That was good. You actually made Mike laugh. That's awesome. Laura's the best. She's been working on that.
And the thespian too. She started going into like a little crying scene. I'm like, I'm actually feeling the emotion.
Yeah, she's ace. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Mike. So tell us what tell us a little bit about the book. We usually ask authors to do fundamentals.
Oh
So
yeah.
I gotta get it here.
I better pull up my notes now.
This is The Money Habit. This is actually book 11 because we had to redo. We did oh yeah, show your books. Show your books. Hold them up. Hold them up.
Oh, folks have them.
Maybe
That's
it's not
awesome.
looking. Get a screenshot. Hold up your books if you got them. Wait, Sade's getting a
Oh,
screen.
rock and roll, Amy. I see Natalie. Awesome. I'm scrolling through it.
Yay.
Gail,
Thank you. Oh,
Susie. Oh, you guys are rock stars.
Ivan,
Ivan.
yay.
Oh, that means the world to me. Thank you. Oh, that was fun. Denise Grove. Look at that. Look at that.
It's
Wow.
actually book 11 because we did a second edition of two books. We did a second edition of Profit First and a second edition of Clockwork, but you have to be, I don't know, deep super fan to know that nonsense. Okay. For whom did you write The Money Habit, Mike Michalowicz?
Well, I'll start off with an article that came out from USA Today just recently. They said worrying about money has become a part-time job. And what they went on to say is that the average person now is worrying about a money concern for a collective of 4 hours a day, the average person. And so we wrote this book to eradicate the worry around money that almost everybody has. And just to add to that, it's to put people back in control of money as opposed to money controlling them.
Love that. And then, what is the core message of this book, Mike?
The core message is don't use willpower. So don't change your habits via willpower. Channel your existing habits. So if you log into your bank account like most people do weekly, daily, that's the best thing you can do, and we're gonna set you up to channel that natural behavior to get the outcomes you want, which is financial independence.
And what's the promise of the book?
Well, financial independence, like
Financial independence. It's actually, you can't really see there. It's in
there
the
it is. Yeah, yeah. Which, I want to put some clarity on that. People mix up financial freedom and financial independence. Financial freedom is where you don't have to worry about a single bill. The problem is you can keep on inflating your expectations to get back into worry. I want to go to the beach. Do I have enough money not to worry about the trip? Now I want to go to the beach on my private jet down in the Caribbean. Do I have enough money? I want to invite 16 of my best friends to join me. You can keep on expanding that. So you'll always be in financial worry if you're pursuing financial freedom because there's never enough potentially. But financial independence is irrespective of how much income you have, how much money you have authority over money as opposed to it over you.
I love that. Forgot to point out that The Money Habit is a USA Today bestseller. So I just want to point that out.
Yeah.
Number 48 on the list, which is not a small feat. I will just let you know. So congrats on that, Mike. I know I texted you when it happened, but congrats.
You're the first person to tell me. So, I mean, Leslie notified me from page 2, but you were the first text I got. I was like, what? We are? That's awesome.
That
And
happens.
something we weren't even pursuing. So that's kind of
Yeah.
icing on the top.
It's icing on the top, especially when this book is moving into not a different readership from the previous 10 books, but an expanded readership. And
Correct.
that's a whole nother thing. So that's quite a thing, Mike. Congrats.
Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you.
so I'd love to get started with a reading. What did you decide? What are you going to read for us? We ask authors to set it up.
Yeah, I'd like to read chapter 1 because I think it really sets the stage for the book, but we'll take breaks as we move along.
Yeah, I'll let you decide where you want to break, and then I've got a few questions for you at the break. Everybody in the chat, you're going to see links. Laura and Sade will continue to put links in the chat where you can order your copy of The Money Habit. I just want to say, I know a bunch of you already have it. You showed it proudly. If you don't have it and it fits your budget, we would dearly love for you to get a copy today. That's a huge help
I'll
to
be
Mike.
honored. Yeah.
And if you do have one, maybe today when you hear Mike talk, you'll be inspired to buy another one as a gift for someone who doesn't want to worry about money. So Laura's going to keep putting that info in the chat. And if you are new to this Monday night reading, I want you to watch what happens in the chat and follow along with that. My regulars, you know what to do in the chat. Put your feedback. Okay, Mike, so the floor is yours.
Okay, here we go. I do have a few surprises. At the end, I want to read from something that's not in the book with your permission. But check this out. Surprise 1, you'll read the book with me. I'm going to grab my glasses here. Hopefully you can see it okay. And here's surprise number 2. I autographed the book for our guests here. So it says, thank you for being part of AJ's group. Authors Rule. Signed by me, Mike Michalowicz. I think that's the most important reading I can read tonight because I think authors do rule. And I appreciate everyone here for being an author. I dedicate this book to your wallet. All right, let's go right to chapter 1. Chapter 1, you have already won the lottery. My son Tyler's hand shook as he gave the check to his new wife, Cora. Staring at the check, she said, "I've never seen this much money in my life." Following the money habit system, my wife and I had set aside $50,000 for each of our three kids' weddings. And because Tyler and Cora had spent only $14,000 on their big day, we gave them a check for the balance in their wedding account, which of course was $36,000, to use however they saw fit, a rainy day fund, a down payment on a home of their own, or towards some other dream. Weeks later, I had to nudge Cora to deposit the check she'd been holding on to because she didn't know if her bank would accept a deposit of that size. She'd never seen that much money, and I'd never given that much money. 10 years before that, I couldn't have written that check. We would have been able to give them a nice wedding gift, like a set of reasonably priced dishes or pasta maker, but to pay for the wedding to the tune of 50 grand, we couldn't have ever imagined being in that position to help our kids in that way unless we won the lottery. After I convinced Cora to deposit the check, it hit me. We had won the lottery, and you have too. You just may not know it yet. People dream of getting checks with lots of zeros. Some play the lottery hoping for the big payout. Others eye old ailing Uncle Richie Rich in his gracious will. Why? Because they want to be so financially secure that they never have to worry about money again. And they believe a windfall of cash will help them get there. Rightfully so. Winning lotteries is a long shot. Better said, it's a long shot. But if you do have the rando luck of a win, the most common jackpot amounts fall between $1 million and $3 million, often doled out through state lotteries or the more frequent secondary prizes. The odds of your $1 million plus win, one in about 12.5 million tries. Those odds suck. To make the odds more understandable, if you play the lottery every day of the year for about 23,942 years, and that is not a typo, you have a 50% chance of winning. With a minimum bet of $2 each time, you would pay $730 a year. And over those 24,000 years, you would pay $17.5 million to win maybe $2 million. In other words, lotteries drain you, your bank account, and your will to live. Don't play them. Hoping Uncle Richie Rich willed all his money to you instead of that 25-year-old he recently fell in love with is far more likely to pay out, but is most likely out of your control. You don't have to make bets with impossible odds or pin your hopes on someone else's decisions because you've already won. Seriously. Now, let me explain. What if you won $2 million in today's lottery? Now, that's a good day. The lottery commission then gives you two options. You receive the funds in monthly installments over 30 years, or you can cash out right away and get a lump sum of $1 million. Let's say you choose option one, since installments ensure you won't blow all that money on a spender bender. Now, what if I told you that you have already won exactly this amount of money, probably more, and you have wisely chosen an installment plan that puts guardrails around your spending? The average American and European earns roughly $2 million in salary over their lifetime. So your primary concern should not be how to come into more money today. It should be how to manage the money you are already coming into more effectively starting today. You've probably heard that most lottery winners lose the money they won within a few years and end up more unhappy than they were when they didn't have the money. Case in point, the infamous story of Jack Whittaker, who won more than $300 million in the Powerball, circulates endlessly. What began as the happiest day of his life spiraled into lawsuits, a gambling addiction, the loss of family members to drug abuse, the loss of his uninsured home in a fire, and complete financial ruin. He is, however, the exception. What you may not know is that the theory of lottery wins making you miserable has been debunked. It turns out lottery winners are pretty happy when they manage their winnings wisely. This insight explains the Whittaker case. Despite already being a multimillionaire before his record-breaking lottery win, he wasn't miserable because of the money. His mismanagement of it did him in. Shortly after his win, he bought a Lamborghini and did laps through his neighborhood, tossing money out the window. Not long after, thieves stole more than $500,000 in cash from him, which he had inexplicably stored in a silver suitcase in his car while he was inside a strip club. When asked why he made such reckless choices, his response was, because I can. Financial success isn't about what you can do, it's about what you should do. That brings me back to gifting the money to our son and his new wife. You might assume that the $50,000 we saved for our kid's wedding was possible because of how much money I earned. That's only part of the story. The real reason was we were able to set aside the money because I created a system that helped me manage my income and save for weddings automatically. Over 15 years, the system assigned a purpose to every dollar, ensuring all aspects of life, including Tyler and Cora's wedding, were accounted for. The money habit guided me on what I should do, and most importantly, it did the discipline part for me. The odds on lotteries are heinous, but the odds on weddings, pretty darn good. They're likely to happen if you have kids, and they're typically an age range in which they will marry, so I play those odds. And when it comes to money management, playing the odds of life's probabilities will greatly help you too. The money habit formation. No matter your income, whether it's $200, $2,000, $20,000, $200,000, or $2 million, the system you're about to learn captures your cash flow and channels the money for you. Any financial outcome can be achieved by adjusting three ingredients: amount, frequency, and time. Now, I won't read through this chart that I'm reading here, but I will give you the sense that small amounts of money infrequently dispersed are likely not to form a habit because it's infrequent. Large amounts of money frequently dispersed or saved is also low habit forming, even though you're quickly are gaining the goal of assigning money to an intention very quickly. Because it's large, it becomes hard. So the optimal habit forming and therefore the fastest way to get the goal is to do small allocations of money on a frequent basis because it's manageable and consistent, and you form a habit very quickly. That's what this chart explains. Now, technically, I could save $50,000 if I put away just $1, that's the amount, per year, which would be the frequency, for $50,000 a year. Absurd, I know, but understanding these three factors allows you to wrap your head around what you want to do, what you can do, and how to adjust when you aren't happy with the progress. Ramping up frequency. You can increase the frequency of savings to reach your goal faster. For example, if I put away $1, the amount, of course, every hour, I could save $50,000 in about 5 years and 9 months. If I increase the frequency even more, saving $1 every minute, then the 50 grand happens in just over 1 month. Ramping up amount. You can also increase the amount you save each time. For example, if I put away $100 per month, I would reach $50,000 in just over 41 years. If I double the amount to $200 per month, I cut the time in half to just over 20 years. Combining frequency and amount. The real magic happens when you ramp up both the amount and frequency. For example, if I save $25 every day, I could hit $50,000 in about 5 years and 6 months. And if I push my savings to $100 every day, I could achieve the same goal in just 1 year and 4 months. This approach aligns with cognitive load theory, which suggests that smaller, more frequent actions are easier for our brains to process and sustain over time. When a goal feels manageable, like saving $25 each day, we're less likely to feel overwhelmed compared to larger, less frequent amounts like $760 per month, even though they work out to be the exact same amount. By breaking savings into bite-sized, consistent steps, you reduce mental strain and increase the likelihood of sticking to the plan. As you establish your money habit, you will hear my constant drumbeat to allocate funds weekly or biweekly. It is how you stack small financial building blocks sequentially, resulting in substantial money gains without substantial effort. Now that you understand how amount and frequency interact with time, you can take control of your financial goals. By adjusting just one, or better, both factors, you can achieve outcomes that might seem impossible at first glance. It is the money system, not the money I earn, that's given me the ability to handle almost anything life throws at me and keeps me worry-free about how I'm going to pay for it. Isn't that why we all want a windfall of cash to do what we want, when we want, worry-free, forever? That's the first section, AJ, that I wanted to read.
I love it. I love this little camera thing you have going on with the, but now everybody wants to know about the pencil. What's up with the pencil?
Oh, that's a pointer, just so I know where the heck I am.
Hmm.
Um, I have mild dyslexia. I went to special education as a child to go through it, but sometimes the words do flip a little bit, so I gotta keep my pencil there.
Now I feel bad because I was just gonna say it's because you're old.
Yeah, well, that's why I have the glasses. That's why I have these 3D 2X goggles here.
Yeah. Pencil, good. Okay, good tip, good tip. So the money habit, we talked about how it's a different reader. I want to understand from your perspective, what is different about the money habit compared to the rest of your books?
Well, clearly the community. I don't know if you know this, but the average, maybe I say it somewhere here, but the average American earns $50,000 a year. You know how we came up with that $2 million in the book is if you take $50,000 a year of earning time, the average work span of most people, which is 40 years, 40 times 50 is $2 million. Most people manage $2 million over their lifetime. But what's different from this book is there is a predictable income. I historically I worked with entrepreneurs, the books we wrote, and they have a much more volatile income. They may actually earn the exact same amount, but that $2 million may be earned in a few years, and then it's a dry spell, and then they have this boom, and then it's a total collapse. It's much more volatile. And people who are employed have a much more predictable income, yet they don't experience those high peaks. Hopefully, not experiencing the low valleys either. So we had to write a book for someone who's on a wage, who has a predictable income, doesn't have those massive upswings, but still wants to experience the same financial independence that everyone else wants to experience. The last thing I want to share is this is 99% of the population. Like I am an entrepreneur my whole life. I don't know anything except for volatility um, until I started observing my colleagues, my employees who are not entrepreneurs and what they wanted from life. And then experiencing the employees of the entrepreneurs I was working with, experiencing what they wanted and realizing, oh, this is actually most of us, if not almost all of us.
Isn't that, and that took us some time too, to because we were so used to, we wrote 10 books for what we call the underdog entrepreneur. And there's a mindset there of, okay, you need this extra influx of cash, go get it. Go, go figure out some way to grab it. And the mindset is different, which isn't to say there aren't people on a salary who don't think like that, but it's less prevalent. And so making sure that you aren't speaking to people who um speaking to the wrong person was a big challenge for me in the beginning, I think.
Yeah, it's really you say, AJ, and every author listening in right now, meet your reader where they're at. And we whiffed. It was a big swing, and the ball went right past us, strike one on
Yeah.
our first attempt. But we caught it.
Yeah.
We caught it. And the second one, we kind of fouled the ball away. It took us a few times to get a hit. And I think the most important thing that you and I did, AJ, was talk with readers, but the real readers. The danger was when I have an established community like I do of entrepreneurs, we were giving the book to entrepreneurs like, yeah, this is perfect, this is great, but it wasn't the actual likely consumer of this. They will consume the book. I believe that your business finances, if you own a business, and your home finances run in parallel, and if one is struggling, it's going to leech off the other. But we started giving to their employees, and I remember that those interviews we conducted with the folks from Tommy Mello's company, which is in the book. It's a garage door service company. Dominic and other folks there. Um, it was fat. Trevor was another one. It was just fascinating getting the insights. I remember one individual. I can't remember her name. When she did the money habit system, she was in our test group. There was about 25 or 30 people in that group we were interviewing or had the opportunity to interview, and we deployed the system. And she says, I love going out to dinner. Like I'm not going to compromise that. And we introduced this system. She started getting an understanding of how she's managing her finances. And then she converted her money management into a game. It didn't actually even make it into the book, but it's one of my favorite stories. What she did is she said, oh, now I understand if I go out once a month, that's within my finances and I can achieve my other aspirations. But going out 2 or 3 times a week isn't working. So she set up a game where week one, she started her own little review. Week one is she identified 4 restaurants she could go to. Week 2 is she would do a deep dive online analysis, queries of what's the best restaurant, the best food selection, and so forth. Then she would go on week 3 to the restaurant. And week 4, she'd write a review of it. She took the entire month kind of steeping herself in the restaurant experience. And her point was, she said, I got more joy out of going to these restaurants now once a month instead of going twice a week. And I'm saving tons of money. So it was so interesting seeing people reframe around their understanding of money, but then also seeing that they were using their money to experience joy, and they could experience that joy in another way without spending the money. And that was the ultimate win.
The most memorable interview for me was with Justin, he did make it into the book, and he has he modified the money habit system. So he had this special fund for his daughter, who I think, if I remember correctly, her name is Lila. And
Yes.
I think I'm right.
Yeah.
And that was just a sweet, sweet interview with a man who loved his daughter so much, and how he set up different accounts that were just all about her.
It's funny. I think it was his interview. There was a little conversation you and I had that was very revealing. He talked about how he uses money, and he said one thing is, so he can go out and get some beers and cigarettes. And I was like, that's interesting, but that's for him. I don't know if I was actually wanted to pull that out and to say he's got stuff. And you're no, this is who he is. Because to me, cigarettes maybe not the most healthy choice and stuff, and I want to show healthy habits. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a good idea. And you're like, it absolutely is a good idea because it's representative of him, which means there's a community that gets him. And I'm so happy we included that story because it has given us access to a community that says, oh, I'm not polishing a turd here. I'm not speaking only to one community. The idea of this book and all the books we write is to accept everyone and meet them where they're at. And that was a great example of something I just wanted to pull out to give it a little bit of a polish when the reality is the beauty is in the reality.
Yes.
I said reality twice there.
He has money for beer and cigarettes, and Lila's going to get herself a really nice down payment on a house when she goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just say.
And I co-cried when he shared that because he started tearing up, Laura, just so you know.
Mike, let's do some more of it. Let's do some more chapter 1.
Let's go. And I do have a little surprise for you too. Time permitting, we'll have to do it. So we may not finish this chapter. Let's just kind of keep going through. I thought that'd be the best way to read this. When life expects us to pay up. Within minutes of getting the call that our daughter was in the hospital, my wife, Krista, had booked a flight out of Newark, New Jersey, for early the next morning and had already started packing. Adela had fallen 18 feet from a wall while rock climbing near her home in Tennessee. Thankfully, she was okay, but she had snapped her ankle. Her foot had twisted completely, and she looked down. As she looked down, she realized she wasn't staring at the top of her foot. She was staring at the bottom. In that split second, frozen in time, she thought, I've never seen my soul before. So weird. Then the pain hit like a striking meteor, and she blacked out. I'd been keeping our insurance costs down by using a catastrophe policy with a high deductible of $10,000. This catastrophe was surely about to make us pony up a big chunk of cash, and we were soon to find out that 10 grand was a mere drop in the bucket. After she arrived in Tennessee, Krista purchased some medical supplies for Adela, including a scooter to help her get around once she was allowed to get out of bed. Krista also paid for all the meals and groceries for up to 2.5 weeks. For up to the 2.5 weeks she stayed with Adela while she recovered from surgery. And because I was traveling for speaking engagements during that stretch, we hired a house sitter to check in on our house, water plants, and bring in the mail, as well as a dog sitter to walk and feed Archer, our mutt. The bills started to add up, and the list of bills, including the next day flight and the surgery and the scooter and so much more, plus the dog sitter, was $12,898. If the accident had happened a dozen years ago, we would have been screwed. I would have been doing the mental math and freaking out about how we could cover the unexpected expenses, likely scrambling to put together some combination of personal loans and credit cards. And then once we figured that out, we'd be freaking out about how we would eventually make those payments. Worrying about money would have added to the concern we had for our daughter, making a tough situation a full-blown crisis. You can't adequately attend to an emergency when there is a constant undercurrent of a financial emergency. Adding insult to injury, at least for me, money worries come out in anger and frustration. I'd be snippy at best and a jerky jerk at worst. Except none of that happened. Krista wasn't worried. I wasn't worried. I knew we had enough cash to cover everything in our health savings account. And because we had the cash, we could act quickly so Krista could be right by Adela's side as soon as possible. Sitting in my hotel room the day after Krista arrived in Tennessee, I called for an update. All was well. Our daughter was in pain, but the surgery went smoothly, and with the help of physical therapy, she would get full use of her ankle again within a year. After I hung up the phone, I sat quietly in my room, and yes, Laura, I started crying and thought about how different our lives were since the dark days when we were drowning in debt. Back then, I dreamed of being free from the financial roller coaster, and I worked tirelessly to change it, but I couldn't get a handle on it until my daughter, that same young woman who had just broken her ankle, saved my life, the piggy bank. By the time I was 35, I'd built and sold 2 multi-million-dollar companies. Before we start picturing, private jets, yachts, and Lambos with me throwing money out the window, let me stop you right there. These companies were far from financially fit, and truth be told, neither was I. The difference between what a business makes and what an owner actually takes home is massive. The buyers bought my business for strategic reasons, not because I made these companies into money-making machines. That's what the new owners plan to do with their acquisitions. Alas, the truth of the situation was something I couldn't see. I thought I was a rich mofo. 2 company exits meant a couple of years of take-home income in the chunky 6 figures. I was able to grow them and get out of them before they crumbled. I was the master of the pump and dump. Where you build something up fast with little to no structural integrity, effectively a house of cards, and sell it off before it comes crumbling down. My biggest pump and dump? My ego. I pumped up a big fat ego and dumped my common sense. With my obvious Midas touch, I decided to become an angel investor. Spoiler alert, I was a disaster. I didn't just lose a little money. In less than 2 years, I lost every penny I got from the lottery win sales of my business. All of it. Things spiraled fast. Bills piled up. I stopped opening them. Unknown numbers, straight to voicemail. Debt consolidation companies hounded me with the multiple calls a day, and their bright, shame-inducing envelopes stuffed my mailbox weekly. My financial mess wasn't just private anymore. It had gone public, and it was humiliating. I did everything I could to keep it hidden. Every day I rushed to the mailbox before Krista could get to it, shoving those ugly reminders of my failure deep into a drawer. I told myself it was to protect her, to keep her from worrying. But the truth, I didn't want her to know just how bad it had gotten. I didn't want her to see me for what I felt I'd become, a financial disaster who had run out of money, out of luck, and nearly out of hope. I started to fixate on who would find out I'd gotten us into a financial mess. Could the neighbors see my slumped shoulders, sagging head from their front window, and when I opened the mailbox? Had they received any of the collection notices by accident? What did the mail carrier think? It was so embarrassing. By this point, I was sending numbers that I did know to voicemail. My withdrawal was the start of a depression. In his classic book, Walden, Henry David Thoreau wrote, "The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation." That sums up my life during those dark days. I was desperate to get us out from under debt and off the financial roller coaster ride without anyone noticing a thing. Desperate people do desperate things. So I tried anything and everything. Get rich quick books, the law of attraction, and all that manifesting stuff. I tried playing the lottery. I wondered if that sign on telephone poles that reads "stuff envelopes at home, earn $1,000 a week" might be legit. It's not, by the way. I wanted ways to be financially sound so badly, I started to convince myself that obvious scams were the real deal. See what I mean? Desperate. I knew deep down inside that none of these strategies would work, but we'll do and believe all sorts of weird stuff when we don't have other options. I also reverted to the fable money shuffle. I moved money from here to cover a cost over there, and then took from there to cover something else over here. I kept moving money around, trying to keep us afloat, until one day there was nothing left to move around. It all went down on the day meant for hearts, roses, and chocolate. On Valentine's Day, 2008, my accountant called. Good news, Mike. I got a jump start on your taxes this year and just finished your return for 2007. We owe only $28,000. Actually, not we, I wish. You owe only $28,000. This was the last tax bill associated with the sale of Company 2, money that was totally gone 12 or so months prior. Good news? Hardly. I had $10,000 in a mix of accounts, and between the tax bill, the accountant's bill, living expenses, and the growing monthly minimum of credit cards, I needed 4 times that amount. Where would I find the money? In the greatest of ironies, that day I came home with a hopeless heart because for our family, Valentine's Day was a special deal. At dinner, we would exchange cards and stories about how we loved each other. It was one of my favorite days of the year, yet I opened the door filled with dread. I would have to come clean. It was time to tell my family the truth about our finances. At dinner, Krista and the kids could see something was up. When she asked if I was okay, I started crying. I was so full of shame. I was supposedly the breadwinner, the guy who provided for the family. I couldn't do my one freaking job. Finally, I said, I've lost everything, every single penny. Tyler and our youngest son, Jake, sat motionless, stunned, frozen. Adela was 9 at the time. Her eyes big and her shoulders tense. She looked terrified. I don't know if it was because her daddy was sobbing or she comprehended what I had done or both. She jumped up from the table and ran as fast as she could. On those spindly legs of hers, she booked up the stairs into her room and slammed the door shut. You and I have made a commitment to be providers. That is why you are listening to me read this book, after all. You've committed to provide for yourself. You've committed to provide for your family. You may be providing for parents, kids, relatives, others. The thing is, providing financial security is a form of protection. But I was such a failure that I couldn't protect my own family. I wanted to run away from the circumstances that I had brought down upon us. So to see my daughter run away from me was brutally painful. At the same time, I got it. She was doing exactly what I wanted to do. Except she wasn't running away from me. She was running to her bedroom to save me. Behind the closed door, she grabbed her most prized possession and then flung the door open. That little 9-year-old girl raced back down the steps with her piggy bank, the one she'd received as a gift when she was born. I told her that dreams come true when you manage your money well, and I am aware of the extraordinary hypocrisy as I say this. Dutiful, she had been saving nickels, dimes, and dollars for the horse she wanted to have one day. The rubber stopper on her piggy bank had been secured with masking tape, duct tape, and rubber bands so a robber wouldn't steal it. She handed me her piggy bank and then, in her tiny 9-year-old voice, said, "Daddy, stop crying. We're going to make it." Telling my family we had no money left was my rock bottom moment. At least that's what I thought. There's a saying about rock bottom moments, and you probably know it. As difficult as it is at the bottom, at least there's only one way to go: up. It's a beautiful sentiment. Too bad it's total bullshit. The reality is when you hit rock bottom, life drags you along the ground. Shards of self-disdain slice your skin. Grains of loathing grind your eyes, and boulders of hopelessness crush your bones. If you know, you know. I had always said if I couldn't provide for my family through a business of my own, I'd get a job working anywhere, doing anything. If McDonald's was hiring, I would take it. If UPS needed a night shift fella to move boxes, I was in. At least so I said. When I hit the lower than low point, I didn't stay true to my word. Instead, I borrowed money from soon to be maxed out credit cards and lines of credit, from friends and family, all to keep the business going. And I drank a lot. I drank to feel less shamed, to feel less, period. For me, rock bottom became 2 years of self-diagnosed functional depression. While Adela's confident declaration had momentarily filled me with hope that we would make it, I had no idea how we would make it, how I would make it. And that's when the depression started. I tried several tools to lift it. I started a daily success diary, which did nothing. I joined a men's group, which helped some of the time, but most of the time, being in the presence of guys who are financially strong, or at least seemed that way, only amplified my shame. Only thing that would work to get me off the ground and return me to a peaceful state of mind was financial stability. I thought that's a good breaking point.
Oh, yeah. Wrote that story 2 times and it still gets me.
Yeah, it was tough to read. When I did the live reading, oh, and I have a hack for all our authors here if you want me to share it in marketing. I had to read that section 3 times. I was bawling the first time, quivering the second time, and the third time I got through it. But when you read your own books, being emotive is important. And when you write the truth, it is, right? Like it's tough for me to still read that because it's the truth.
Yeah.
But what's so beautiful about that is it connects. Like when people, I've gotten emails already, AJ, and texts of like, holy cow, that moved me. And this is people that have read the text as opposed to heard me reading the text.
It's interesting too because I can't think of a more memorable story from Profit First. The piggy bank story. It's so memorable that people call it that, the piggy bank story.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we were faced with, do we share that story again? And then if we are sharing it again, how is it going to go? And how does it need to be structured in a different way? The purpose for sharing the story is to share your origin story a bit, but also to be relatable to readers who have had piggy bank moments. And to be honest and transparent about all the mistakes and mishaps and fooling yourself and fears. And a lot of the visuals in there were intentional. The color of the envelopes that are collection notices, the missed calls. There's just a lot of other text, a lot of new texture in there that we didn't have in the original because this is geared toward the individual versus the entrepreneur.
I had a call, not a call. I spoke with my wife last night. She had a call with our daughter, Adela. And you know this, AJ. My daughter does not remember that moment. She was 9 years old and doesn't remember it. And I've said, and it's true, is she's just wired to give and contribute. What was fascinating last night is Krista, my wife, goes, oh, they've canceled she lives with her fiance. They have canceled all their subscriptions to Netflix and so forth and what things. And I said, oh, why? And my wife looks at me, she said, because she's terrified about money, Mike. It's interesting. I didn't think about it or realize it, but the financial trauma of that moment, she may not remember it, but cellularly, she remembers it and it affects your kids. She now is doing this book, and I hope this is in some way a gift to alleviate that trauma I brought about in her through this mechanism. So I thought it was interesting, and maybe a future book will include that story now. That's new to me as of last night.
Oh, man, yeah. I wish, yeah. Well, I'm excited to hear what she thinks of going through the book. She's so integral to your story and how people understand your story. So,
We talk about the miserly syndrome too, and that's my other fear. So there's two situations where people live beyond their means, but there's also people that aren't living within their means or living below their means to great compromise, and it becomes this wiring that you pass away the richest person in the graveyard, and you lose opportunities to utilize that money in a way that could fulfill you, fulfill others, serve others. So there's these two dangerous paths. And the nice thing is we explored that in this book too. And now I'm a little bit afraid of my daughter going to this syndrome where she compromises life, connection, serving because she's afraid of losing money.
yeah.
Mm.
So I want to give you a chance to do a surprise because you
Oh,
said
yeah.
surprise, but hang on. I also want to point out, especially if you just joined us, some people have been coming in. If you have a copy of The Money Habit, we're so grateful. If you don't have a copy, we'd love for you to get a copy today.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a link in the chat for you to purchase it. We'd love to give you a shout out for doing that. And if you do have a copy, we hope if it fits your budget, you might pick up another one tonight. This really helps authors because it bumps up it tells Amazon, hey, what's going on? And it spikes some cool stuff for authors. So we need that little bump. If you're able to do that tonight, we would be very, very grateful. And also shout out to all of you who are requesting it from your local library. I see Mara's here. Mara sent me a pic of her. I passed it on to Mike, by the way, Mara. There's the library copy. Yeah,
Yeah, rock and roll.
we love
We like
it.
to use that picture. I was so flattered to get that picture. Thank you.
Mara, do you give Mike permission to use the picture I sent that you sent me? Okay, great. You got it,
Okay,
Mike.
okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you.
what's your surprise?
Well, that's three little things. So first of all, this is the office. This is the wide shot where I did the work on the book. So two things. This is, I refer to this in the book, but it ultimately got cut. This is a Dutch money management system that I was gifted when we wrote Profit First. But each word up here, it's all in Dutch, is different categories. So it's the same system, and this goes back over 100 years. So this is a vintage thing from prior to World War II. This here is the journal I started that alleviated that worry I had. So this goes way back. Originally, it was going to be my success journal, but it just became journaling, all of the thoughts. And I'll tell you, it was the poor person's therapy. It was the best thing I ever did. And I still use that today. I just write down my thoughts. I'm looking at the wrong camera. Now, here's the surprise. In addition to this book, we have the lost content. So I thought I'd do a little reading from stuff that got cut. This is the stuff that AJ and I worked on that didn't make it into the book. So I thought that would be a fun read. AJ, I see your face.
Oh, shoot.
Um, and so, what I did is when people buy the book, they get this as a gift, as a bonus. And by the way, if you've bought the book and you didn't get this, just email me and say, hey, Mike, can I get that lost content? Perhaps you'll enjoy reading it, but more importantly, I think you can replicate this. But I just wanted to read a couple things. So here's one little excerpt that didn't make it, and that's why I referenced this little container here. It's this one. It was in the Granny Shot Revolution, something that I wrote up and then we decided to cut. On my bookshelf is an old school orange painted metal case. It's about the size of a shoebox in half the long way. The box is from the early 1900s and had stamped on it words like clothing, fuel, household art, insurance, and holiday. The box was given to, and you'll see there's typos in here, so say given to me. The box was given to a Dutch friend of mine, Femke Hagma, and then was passed down to her, and from her, she gave it to me. The system back then was as simple as the money habit, just using a metal box instead of bank accounts. When you got money, you would divide it up and put it into each category. Granny is pretty cool after all. And that's a callback to a different section of the book. We talked about the Granny Shot, so it mandated that was removed, and we decided not to rewrite it. Here's another section, the Siren's Call. I think AJ, you're the one who introduced this, but I can't remember. Debt, this sounds like my opening line though. Debt, like a mother-in-law, not necessarily evil, just misunderstood, and best handled in small doses. Over time, the relationship with debt, and maybe your mother-in-law, doesn't grow, it festers. I remember the day I sent Chris the final payment on the loan. I said, hey, Chris, we agreed to interest. I owe you another $3,000. Are you kidding? He said, you owe nothing more. Thanks for being true to your word. True to your word. That was the greatest moment of my debt-free journey. I remember the day I sent Chris the final payment on the loan. I said, hey, Chris, we agreed to interest, and then it just repeats some of the section. But what we did is we included this story, but this was a little nuanced component with the mother-in-law and then what Chris said to me. As a standalone piece, I know it doesn't make sense. We're taking little excerpts, but I invite all of us authors that when you write your book, save everything you chop out. People love this. It's like the cut scenes from a movie. Here's a graphic we chose not to include. It was the lender-borrower obligation. And what this chart showed was that over time, the sense of obligation changes. So if I lend money to you today, and actually, this is a typo. You can see this is actually borrower. This is funny, but this is how it works in stuff that gets chopped. If I lend money to you today and you borrow it from me, on day one, you have a high sense of obligation. You're so grateful I gave you money. over time, as time passes, the borrower feels less significance, but the lender feels that you owe them. So it just shows how the sense of obligation changes. And then I thought there was one more interesting thing. Here were some quotes. It's funny, as we interviewed people, I remember Heidi, she's a friend of mine, Heidi Hutter. She said, communism does not work in the frame of the world, but it's the only thing that works in the frame of a family. And I got all these cool quotes that I saved, but just never really made into the book. They didn't fit. I discovered in Japan, they have a technique called Quebec or Kakabo. I think I'm mispronouncing, I'm sure I am, but that speaks to this, where they say it's a Japanese savings method where it divides income up into different desires. So very similar. And I even put down all the different titles that we had thought up. And there must be, there's 2 pages worth here, about 100 different titles we considered. And I'll tell you, as an author, don't necessarily go with your first title. Go with a title that goes with your best customers. And we started off with Made for Money, I think was the working title.
Yes.
And we tested it. We used different tools. We interviewed people, and we found that was not the title. One last little tip. We used a valuation tool called pickfu.com. And the subtitle was The Worry-Free Method to Financial Independence. And we tested against the worry-free way to financial independence. And the worry-free way crushed method, even though I thought method's better because it's a system. But the worry-free way seemed accessible. And so we changed the subtitle after that test. And I think the book is selling the way it's selling in part because we made that effort, AJ.
I agree. But I'm just saying that because that's one of 2 titles I came up with of all of our titles. I'm just being a little brat about it.
Yeah.
Clockwork and The Money Habit.
Yeah, Clockwork, you called me like one day, it was like 3 a.m. Like, I got it. And you got it. Hey,
No,
Natalie,
there was a different story. I was in the hair salon chair.
Oh, we're the hair salon. I just remember getting a call. Like, I got it. Natalie, thanks for getting a second copy of the book. That
Oh,
means the world
the
to me.
whole chat is full
Oh,
of.
really?
Oh yeah, Lauren Sade and I have been thanking everybody, so you don't worry about that. Mike, everybody, I need you to stay because we're going to do something cool for Mike. But before we do that, Mike, I just, I'd love to, if you could share just a little bit. We've got a lot of top 3 book workshop people here in our Writing Sprint community. If you can share just a little bit about working on this book and our collaboration and what that was like for you.
If you don't work with AJ, you are crazy.
Well, no, like talk about writing the book. Like, right, what was
If
right?
you don't work with AJ, you're crazy. So I will tell you, AJ, collaborating with AJ, well, first of all, you don't give access to the way we collaborate to anybody. And I am so great. That is the greatest gift on the planet for me. Not that you don't work with other people. I wish you could, but I know there's only so much AJ to go around. I feel I value our friendship and our relationship more than anything. And it's created something now beyond the books with our podcast, Don't Write That Book. I will tell you, one of the most extraordinary projects I've been involved with is that podcast. So if anyone here is not listening to Don't Write That Book, I invite you to do it because we share every stinking detail of how we work together, what works, what doesn't work, and so forth. So much so that authors, like top tier authors, are texting me. I got one yesterday saying it was Michael Bungay Stanier. I think I told you about it. He said, "This is the best podcast in the world. Keep producing it." So it just shows you how much is being shared.
Can you ask Michael to just send a little testimonial or put a review on Apple Podcasts?
Yeah. You know what? That's a good one. I'm gonna put it. I'll text him back. I'm just making a note by opening this up. It's what's the book on? Is it called On Writing Well?
Mm-hmm.
By Bill. I can't remember his last name, but the opening sentence by that author, he says, "The essence of writing is rewriting." It's kind of buried in my mind, and I think what AJ we do together is challenge everything until it is serving the reader at the highest level. Sometimes it's through simplification. Sometimes it's through better storytelling. Many times, it's through removing things that distract. I think the first draft is simply a starting point of where this could potentially go. And it's when we get to like I don't know, the 17th pass of all the iterations we go through that the real shine starts coming from a book. And that's by working with you. I've been to Madeline Island. Um, I've attended the sprints. I have one. There's one coming up pretty soon, actually. I have it in my calendar.
21st, baby. March
21st.
21st, Writing Sprint Marathon. Mike will be there, by the way, you guys. If you want to come, it's free.
Yeah.
You can come join us and write with Mike.
There's something special in all those experiences, not just working with you, which is extraordinary, but also that you know you're not alone in this process. Authorship is, this is my room. This is the writing room. It is a lonely business, but it doesn't have to be. And I think it's actually the most important business on the planet. Two final thoughts around this is there's dollar for dollar, there is nothing more valuable than a book. I mean, for $24, someone can experience a fiction book that transforms their entertainment experience, that is so engaging that they lose any kind of life moments that are going on and distracting, hurting them, and just immersed in something. What a gift. Therapy costs more than $24, and books do that. A prescriptive book can give a solution to something that someone would never explored because they were too afraid to talk to a friend about or anyone else. But the intimacy's there for $24 or whatever the price is. So dollar for dollar, there's nothing greater than a book. The last thing is, it's the only industry I've ever been in that the more successful fellow authors are, the more successful fellow authors are. Like, we're in this together. The more people read your book, the more they're going to want to read books. So I want every author crushing it.
What is the change you want to see in the world? Because your book is now in it.
Wow. I'm on this mission to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. It's to eradicate the emotional poverty associated with financial struggle.
Mm.
There's this concept of eradicating poverty, and that's elevating the usually income. I want to elevate control. That's what I want to see. That irrespective of people's income, they're in control. That worry goes away. I really think we're in a better planet when people aren't worrying about money. I think a lot of these problems go away. This is amazing, AJ, and everyone. Thank you. It's funny as looking at Sherry and her comment. What's also amazing about your community is the connections that happen that then bring about more stories. So her son Travis, who I got to know, is a wonderful guy, and does rock balancing. We included some of his story in one of the books we wrote, and he's gone on to write books himself. It's just so interesting how this group works together and it manifests more and more great literature.
Thank you, Dana. We appreciate you. Before we sign off too, can I just get a show of hands? Who is working on a book or publishing a book? Show me your hands. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Look at that.
Look at that.
Bring it.
Look at that. Gorgeous. What a
Sandy
beautiful
Markle, I'm
set.
looking at you right now. Keep that hand up. I love it. Susie, Tom, Robert. There you go. Susie, I'm looking at you guys. Oh, this is awesome. Joanne, I see you. Look at all those hands, Karen.
Isn't it great? It's the most beautiful sight. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Johan. Or is it Johannes? I'm not going to say it right. My deepest apologies. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate you all. We're going to say good night. Mike, thanks for making time for us. I know you're on a busy promo schedule, but I'm going to see you in like 13 hours when we record 3 episodes of the podcast.
Yeah. And I'm off for some speaking gigs this week. Got 3 gigs this week for the Money Habit. So, boom.
I love it. I'm so glad you came. Thanks so much, Mike.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate you.
Take
Go
care,
write your book.
everyone. We'll see you at the next one.